then, welcome to this month's free webinar. This is one of the requested topics. People do there's a lot of curiosity these days about a thing called retargeting. And we're going to explain how it's not necessarily a new thing. In fact, you can do it in a way that is decidedly low-tech. But there's also some shiny, fancy software that does retargeting, which is part of the reason that everybody's talking about it now, right?
You bet.
It's funny how all these new ideas tend to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
They don't just, blossom out of nothing and then, it's the latest thing. So it's kind of funny to watch. So this webinar is for you if you have some customers, but not enough. If you have enough customers, then you don't need to do marketing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as you know you're always going to have enough customers. If you have visitors to your website, but not enough. So, once again, this is not for people starting from absolute scratch. I'm Paula Williams.
And I'm John Williams.
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you ladies and gents out there sell more products and services in aviation land.
Absolutely. So we get our information from a number of places. We've probably read, at least 1,000 books on sales and marketing and various other things. And we're also members of a lot of different organizations in aviation and also sales, marketing, project management, business management, and God knows what else, right?
You bet. It's all there.
It's all there. It's not all there, but some of it's there.
No, not all there, but a lot of it is.
Absolutely. Okay, so please do two things. One is to get a pen. Make sure you have a pen that works. I just had to resolve that issue just a second ago. And also make sure that your phone is turned off. And the reason for that is because multitasking is highly overrated, not just for texting and driving, but also for thinking and anything else. Most of us try to do too many things at a time. And I actually talked with somebody in our office hours this morning about a brochure that she was working on. And it's just like, you know what, you're trying to do too much at a time. Do one thing at a time and it will get done. And she absolutely crushed it. If you just spend 20 minutes or an hour doing one thing, you'll get so much more done than if you're trying to do a dozen things at the same time. So that's...
computers don't even multitask. They time slice unless they've got multiple CPUs, in which case then they can do multiple things.
That was very nerdy. But people do it too. People time slice. But every time you get interrupted.
That's all they can do because they only got one brain.
That's true. That is true. All right. So let's start with why retargeting.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly. So, we all know, and we've talked about this a lot in a lot of the webinars that we do, it takes several contacts to make a customer, right? A corollary of that is that it takes several sales to make a great customer. So if you sell a subscription product or something like that, people aren't really into your product or service until after they've had it for a couple of months and they know how everything works and they've broken it in and they know what they're doing, right?
Yep.
Right. So why would you start from scratch every single time, right?
You
That's
wouldn't
crazy. Go ahead.
You don't want to.
You don't want to because you're starting from a dead stop, and Isaac Newton taught us all that an object in motion is easier to keep in motion than an object at rest, right?
Yes.
Did I say that right? I don't remember Newton's law. I think that was a vast paraphrasing of, but you get the idea. And the other thing is that you've already done most of the work. So, you've already got somebody's attention, which is the hardest thing in the world to get. You've already taught them a few things about your product or service, so it isn't that much harder to take them the rest of the way than it is to start from scratch. So this is a quote from Sean Buck. He's the author of the Ultimate Guide to Customer Retention, and he's also in one of the mastermind groups that we belong to. And he says it's up to 7 times more expensive to attract a new customer than it is to retain an existing one. And we're doing a variation of that today. We're not actually going to retain a customer. We're going to get back an old one, right?
And actually, that also applies tangentially to turnover and employment.
That is absolutely true. That's a topic for another day.
I just thought I'd toss that in.
Absolutely. And, you know, hey, that you do market to keep your employees, you know, and you market to get employees. So, you know, everything, in my book, every problem is a marketing problem. So, all right. So, first of all, we need to kind of talk about why do customers leave? And sometimes they leave for cause, and sometimes they just leave because they were distracted. And this has happened with some of our customers who have left and then come back. So we always want to make sure that we leave the door open so that they don't feel embarrassed about the fact that they were led astray by a shiny object.
Sometimes they leave because you haven't touched base with them.
That is true. Or because a competitor came along and had a special offer or a free something, or, you know, had some better marketing than you did at that particular moment, and led them away from you, you know, which is fine. But then, you know, after some amount of time, they often find, you know what, the service here isn't as good as what I used to get, or the products aren't as good, or, you know, there's a lot of things that are different. So you want to make sure you leave that door open for them to come back and not be embarrassed about the fact that they were led astray, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So today we're going to talk about retargeting 3 ways. Number 1 requires absolutely no programming skills whatsoever, but it does require some work, right? Number 2 requires some programming skills or access to a programmer if you have one that you can talk to. The third one requires practically 0 work on your part except for some reading and talking. And of course, that is a service that ABCI provides. So, you know, the next question, of course, is, are you selling anything on this webinar? And the answer is, yes, of course we are. It's a free webinar. So that will be the option 3. And if you are the kind of person that is offended when somebody tries to sell you something, you can drop off early and we won't even notice, right? But we think you're going to want to stick around because it is definitely worth doing. And, you know, people who are really, really smart in business often are the ones that look at all of the options before they make a decision. So, you know, this may be a good option for you. It may not be, but we'll find out as we go along. All right. So for the first one, and actually for all 3, you're going to need 3 things. One is a list of your past customers. And we had a challenge about this on Monday. If you are a fan of ABCI on Facebook, you saw a little video where we went through the process of how to get a list of your past customers. And, you know, I did it using Infusionsoft, but you can do that using QuickBooks or your taxes or a spreadsheet or whatever it is that you keep your customer lists in, right?
Yes.
You'll also need a pen, which you had from the first slide, and you'll also need our downloadable sales letter, which you will find in the handout section, right, of your GoToMeeting control panel. So you can go ahead and download that sales letter, and you'll have that when we get to that point. And you'll also need the campaign worksheet, which is another downloadable item from the handouts. Okay, so to start with, referrals, resales, and recaptures are all in what we call phase 3. And you're probably all familiar with this diagram. This is ABCI's long cycle marketing. It's similar to what you'll find in any marketing textbook about a sales funnel, except that ours is a little more up and down than long and skinny, right?
Yep.
In phase 3, you know, you do all of your post-sale activities like, you know, your new customer welcome package, customer satisfaction surveys. If you do all these things, you will never lose a customer, ideally, and you will never need to recapture a customer, but it does happen. Like we said, they get distracted, they have a reorganization, they have somebody else come in that has a different opinion, they bring in their own marketing people. all kinds of crazy things happen. But then, after they've come to their senses and you've given them some time, you can try this, right?
Well, sometimes it's for purely political reasons.
That's true. In fact, sometimes people will hire somebody because they are the customer of their customer, and that kind of thing. And there's not a whole lot that you can do about that except give it some time and try a recapture in 6 months or a year, right?
Yes.
And a better product or service always beats politics, I like to say. Maybe not today, but eventually, right?
Eventually, it will.
Eventually, right. Good karma always wins out. All right. So on the worksheet, we go through this process in enough detail that you should be able to follow along, but we're going to actually go through this step by step in the webinar so that you can ask questions and we can do this together. And by the end of the hour, you'll have this practically done, which is kind of cool. So every great campaign has 3 things: a list, an offer, and a presentation, right?
You bet.
Okay, so of course we're going to start with the list, and this is the list that you just made from all of your old customers. Now, there's going to be some that you don't want to do business with or that you think are very unlikely for some reason or another. So you don't have to be scientific about this. You can be subjective as you want to be and say, you know what, here are some people that let's say I started with my list of 79 people, that fell into the date range that I was looking for, and said, here's the people that we could do a recapture campaign with. And I said, you know what, number one, I don't need 79 new customers right now. And number two, I don't really like all of these people. I don't necessarily want to do business with all of them. Some of them may have gone out of business. Some of them were slow to pay. Some of them maybe we didn't get along so great, because of the way that they treated our subcontractors and other folks and things like that. So ended up with a list of 20, right?
Cherry picks, so to speak.
Yeah. So doing the math on that, that's 1 in 4, a little bit more than 1 in 4, but you can make any number that you want. You're the boss here, so you can do this any way you like, and you can set up whatever criteria you like. You can say you want to go after the highest value customers, the ones who are the most recent, the ones who are geographically closest to you, the ones that paid on time, the ones that followed your rules, whatever it is that you want to do to narrow this list down to the ones that you really want, right? Okay, so questions about your list?
How long? How long should they be gone before you try to get them back?
Okay. And once again, if you have a question, you can enter it into the chat window, and then John will facilitate those for us, which is great. So, how long?
In the question window.
In the question window, sorry, not the chat window. So the question was, how long should you wait before you try to get them back? Right. I think that depends a lot on the kind of business that you're in. So if you're selling airplanes and somebody just bought an airplane from you a month ago, they're probably not going to buy another one. But if you're in the service business and people bring their aircraft in for service every quarter or 3 times a year, or whatever that frequency is supposed to be, then after they've missed one time that you think they should have been back, I think it's not too soon to go after them. What do you think, John?
Well, I think before that time you should send them some sort of communication to say, you got this up and coming. Just a reminder.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can do everything you can to prevent losing the customer in the first place. But once you've lost them, I think it really depends on the kind of business that you're in, how long you should give it before you try to get them back.
Okay.
Make sense?
Why not?
Okay. Any other questions?
How about one more at least?
Okay.
So, how about, let's see. Yeah, how about trying not to lose customers in the first place?
Good point. Somebody was reading our mind. Yeah, absolutely. If you can avoid losing them and doing some of those things that we had talked about, doing really great customer service, doing surveys, doing a good new customer welcome package or a new customer welcome process that makes sure that you're checking all the boxes and making sure they understand the product and or service and that they're getting the most out of it will prevent you from having to do this in the first place. So a customer retained is better than a customer recaptured. So great point. I think that was a point rather than a question, right?
Probably. I think that's all so far.
That's it for now. Okay.
At least for this section.
Okay. So we talked about the list. The next thing out of the three, the list, the offer, and the presentation, right? So the offer, you have to have something really great to offer people in order to get them to come back. And when you're thinking about an offer that you can send, you have to give them a reason. And in some cases, all this needs to be is an excuse to consider you again. So, let's say that you're working with an organization and some of the folks there like you and some of the folks there like somebody else, like a competitor. You need to give the people that are your advocates another reason to bring you back to their boss's attention or their peers' attention. So you want to give them some kind of bait and offer something really, really good. So when you're thinking about an offer, what do your customers always ask for more of? Do they ask for more training, more time, more service, of a particular kind of service, more of a particular kind of product, more refills, more whatever, whatever it is? That's a good place to start because that's what your customers are most likely to be attracted by, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Another question is, what can you offer in addition to your existing product or service? Can you offer training? Can you offer free installation? Can you offer, a cleaning or something while an airplane is in for service? Can you offer, a free meal to a charter client or a package deal with a bed and breakfast or something like that? There's lots of things that you can do there. Free reports, other kinds of things that you can do in addition to your product or service. Another thing you might think of is...
As long as it doesn't cost too much.
Right. You have to keep this in proportion to the amount that you're going to eventually earn from this customer. So, the size of the whole deal has, this has to be in proportion to the size of the deal. So if you have a $20 product, you don't want to offer a $20 bonus when they do this. So you want to make sure that it's in line with your business objectives as well, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Another thing that you can think about is what questions do your customers always ask? Can you prevent those or can you circumvent that by getting out in front of it and, providing a quick start guide or something like that to make this whole thing easier, an easier interface if you're selling software and so on. So what can you do that is newer, better, cooler, neater, more of what they want, and hopefully solving the problem that made them leave in the first place, right?
That'd be best.
That would be best. All right. So one of the things that people tend to offer is a free consultation, and they tend to do it pretty badly. And this is an example that we used in last month's webinar. This is a really great free consultation example that we got from Perry Marshall. He was in our book club last year. This is a 30-minute small business management tune-up. But you want to make something like this for your company. If you do a free consultation of any kind, you want to really productize this and make it more detailed and more valuable for your customer, as well as really defining the scope so you don't end up spilling all your candy in the lobby, as Sandler Sales likes to say, right?
Yes.
So if you had, let's say, an aviation tax business, you could offer a 30-minute aviation tax seminar or aviation tax tune-up, where you can zero in on 3 main problems that your customers tend to have, and touch on some of the possible solutions for those things, and make that limited to 30 minutes and, put a pretty strong fence around that so that it's really attractive to them, but also not giving too much away. So I think this is a really good way of doing a free consultation that makes it more valuable and also protects you in the process. So that's one thing you can give away. You can also give away another product or an additional service or anything like that. But questions about your offer?
We've had a few come in. It says, why does it have to be a limited time offer?
Okay, yeah, very good point. Why does it have to be a limited time offer? Because you have to create some kind of urgency. Otherwise, things tend to get put off, and it won't get on the agenda, and you won't get the attention of the people that need to make the decision unless there is a reason that they need to take action within 2 weeks. So whatever you offer, you want to make sure that you require your customer to take some kind of an action within 2 weeks, either schedule or purchase within 2 or 3 weeks. I guess you could go out to as much as a month, but I wouldn't go, usually the ideal window is 2 to 4 weeks, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So we only sell one product. We're a fairly small company.
Mm-hmm.
It's fairly simple, and we don't see the value in offering a consultation. What else could we do?
Okay. Good question. It does not have to be related to your product or service. It kind of is nice if it is, but you could offer a pie, sent from, a local shop if you serve local customers. It could be dinner in a restaurant that's local to you. If it's not local, it could be something that you can send in the mail. So, a gift card. We prefer actual things to gift cards, but you could send a frozen salmon. You could send, anything that has to do with ideally tying it in with your company identity. So if you're in Seattle, the salmon thing is a pretty natural fit. If you're in Salt Lake, like we are, something along the lines of there's a restaurant that does really fabulous bread baskets, that's kind of famous locally, and so they will send them nationally or even internationally to people. If you're in Oregon, there's Harry and David. There's lots of different options that kind of tie things back together to your company that don't necessarily have to be directly connected with your product or service. It just has to remind them of you and be something that's worth taking action this month for, as opposed to waiting another month or putting it off indefinitely, right?
That's the last question.
Okay. One question that we do get a lot is, and we didn't get this time, maybe because you guys are smarter than the average audience, is what about a discount? Can I just discount my product 20% or something like that? We try to avoid doing that because it erodes your integrity of your price. That people think, well, if you can sell it for 20% less, then I'm getting ripped off most of the time, So, you really want to, and even if you don't have those kind of margins and you're offering it for 20% off, then you're hurting your own company because you're cutting into your margins. And you're setting yourself up with a really dangerous precedent. So we really don't advise doing discounts on in general, unless there is some reason for that, like last year's discontinued item or something like that, where there's a reason for the discount that makes sense.
Right, to get rid of inventory.
Right, exactly. So yeah, discounting, not a good idea, but you guys didn't ask about that because you guys are smart, right? Okay. So we talked about the list and the offer, so what's left?
Yeah, the presentation. You need to make it a little bit larger so it's readable.
No, because people can download this from the handouts.
Oh, okay.
So this letter is actually in the handouts. You can download it in Microsoft Word, and it has fill in the blanks in the version that you're going to download. So you're going to replace the logo with your logo. You're going to replace a lot of the wording with your own wording. In your version, you're going to have a lot of blue highlighted text that you're going to want to make sure that you replace, so that you've got basically an introduction, you've got a free offer, you've got a conclusion, and you've got a call to action. So, those are the important parts of this letter. And if I were to just draw on this, here's kind of your introduction. The fact that it's Valentine's Day makes this kind of nice because it's good timing, kind of brings people into what they're already doing. You've got an offer, which is very important, and you've got a call to action. Here's what you need to do to take advantage of this, so, do this now, right? So you can download that and fill in your own information, and then you've got something to start with. Now, for bonus points, you can send this letter in a package with something cool, like chocolate, right? It is Valentine's Day, so, that's a good thing. Other things you can include in the package are, brochures and product sheets, things like that, information on new and updated products and services. If you have a catalog, you can send them a new catalog to make sure that they're up on all of the things that you do that maybe you didn't last time you worked with them. A company newsletter that maybe tells them if you have new people or new equipment, new processes, new services, other kinds of things. Current customer testimonials, that's really important, especially if there's been issues in the past, that might have contributed to the reason that they left you. If you've got a customer that has had a good experience with you where they had a bad experience, they can see what's changed in someone's words other than your own, which is always more credible, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. An even better version of that is if you can do a CD or DVD interview with a customer or, with someone that works with you, maybe a new employee that's going to be handling your customer service, something like that. Or a product demo that shows, here's how our product works now, and here's how we solved maybe a problem that you've had in the past. And, of course, candy is always a good thing. Now, we're sending these in a U.S. Flat rate envelope, and our packages, by the time we add up all of the stuff that we put in them, all of the printing, all of the postage, all of the candy, everything, comes to about $20 each. Right? So I'm sending 20 of these for $20 each. So we have about a $400 campaign, which is not terrible, right?
Not at all. In the grand scheme of things, it's actually quite inexpensive.
Exactly. So you can adjust this. If your product is less expensive, you're going to want to do a less expensive campaign and maybe just send the letter and candy, leave out the DVD and send it in a number 10 envelope. Then you're going to cut your cost down significantly. If you sell airplanes or something more expensive, then you may want to send a box of chocolates or something like that in a bigger package and, make more of an impact that way, just because you want to be proportional to what you're selling, right? Okay. So one thing we really like to include in this that's really good to send in any size package is a checklist. And this is a really good way to highlight some of the things that are maybe different than what you used to do. So, let's say this is not necessarily the case, but if this were the case, let's say we had a long-term contractor or retainer or something like that in the past and we got rid of it. You can include that on a checklist that you send to people so they'll be able to see, oh, wow, here are some things that have changed about this company that we didn't like about them before, but they've changed the way they do business, so we need to give them another look. So that's important as well. And those checklists are actually really powerful marketing materials. So that's a brochure you can consider if you're thinking about what can I include in this package and things like that. So questions about the letter/package, which is kind of the first piece in our presentation section.
A few. If you send a letter rather than a package, how can you make them more likely to open it?
Good question. When you get just a letter in the mail, a lot of times it will end up in the round file or at least put in a stack that never really gets opened unless you do something interesting with the envelope. And, some of the things that you could do would be to put your offer on the outside of your envelope, say get a free brochure, or get 1,000 free brochures is our offer that we're using in our our campaign. You can also put, since this is a Valentine's Day campaign, you can put heart stickers on the outside of the envelope. That'll make them wonder what's in it. You can put something lumpy in the envelope. So, if you do use some, those Ghirardelli squares are kind of bumpy. They're flat, but they're kind of bumpy. So if you put those in the envelope, that's going to make them curious about what's in there and get that envelope opened. So excellent point. These things are only as good as making sure that they get into the right hands and also get opened. So those things tend to make them get past the gatekeepers into the hands of the decision makers and also get that envelope opened.
What if you don't have a lot of testimonials or other marketing materials?
Okay.
That's where we come in.
That's where we come in. We can help you with that, of course. Our content marketing package is a good place to start, or we do have a brochure package where we can create a brochure for you. The checklist is probably the easiest if you're doing it yourself, or if you are, or if you're working with us and you have a limited amount of time. We'd put together a checklist of here are the things that are great about your company. So you're kind of defining the rules of how they should be doing their comparison shopping. So those are really powerful. If you don't have testimonials, it doesn't take much to get them. Get on the phone with 3 of your best customers and write down what they say and ask them if you can use it in your marketing materials. That's something that can be done in an afternoon, and then make a nice little sheet out of that, out of what they say. So this is not rocket science. It's not difficult to do. I think people hesitate to do it, but take courage and get it done.
Good.
Right? Or get us for you. We're happy to interview your old customers, and if that's less awkward, that's a great way to do an article for your website and also get some great testimonials for your packages.
And another question: how about should I have some pens left over from a trade show? Can I use those?
Yes, you can. Those will make your envelopes lumpy. They're not going to be perceived as, I think you want to tie it in with the campaign in some way, which is why we really like chocolates for Valentine's Day. And a pen that's just kind of thrown in, we get a lot of those. My whole desk pencil cup is full of promotional pens from different companies, so I don't know that that's going to attract as much attention as you'll want. So it's better than nothing, but I would maybe give it a little more thought and do something a little more tied in and a little more thoughtful.
Okay. And I think that's all for now.
Okay. Moving on. So you've got our package or our letter. We get those sent. We get those out in the mail. And then we wait 7 days, right? So today is Wednesday. Let's say we get these out on Thursday or Friday. Then we wait 7 days and we make a phone call.
Why 7 days instead of 6 or 8?
Well, 7 days because, number one, it's going to make the math really easy on this. It's going to make it easier to remember. And number two, it is almost always going to get there via U.S. first-class mail within 7 days, and then have an extra day or two for that person to have actually received it and hopefully opened it and thought about it, right?
Yeah, good point. Mail now is only guarantees 3-day response rather than the used to be 2.
Right. And, there's usually 1 or 2 days in there where someone may be out of the office or, whatever. So, if we give it 7, then we're pretty sure that they've been in the office at least once, gotten their mail since it's been in their inbox, and picked that up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, do I have to make phone calls? Yes, you do. This will work to a certain extent without making the phone calls, but you're going to get a whole lot better return on investment if you do this in more than one way. So, the letter is good. The phone call is better, exponentially better. The emails make it exponentially better from there. So, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the phone call is probably the most powerful bit of this after the letter or the package. So the thing that bugs me the most about making phone calls is the what the heck am I going to say, right? If you're at all queasy or squeamish about making phone calls, you really want to have some kind of an outline about, how am I going to approach this? What am I going to say? So here's what I say, and you can make up your own script, and of course, please do substitute your name and company name in the appropriate places, right? Okay, hi, this is Paula from ABCI. Did I catch you at a good time? And John, you can be my customer.
Sure. How can I help you?
Great. I just wanted to set a time to sit down with you and find out what's new in your business and let you know a few things that are new with us. How about Tuesday at 1 or Thursday at 4?
Yeah, Tuesday's better than Thursday.
Fantastic. We'll see you then. So see how easy that was? I wasn't trying to sell him anything. All I'm trying to do is get an appointment. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I'm calling out of the blue. I didn't make an appointment. I have, no way of knowing whether this person is busy or not. So the first thing, did I catch you at a good time? Some people are going to say, no, I'm just jumping into a meeting, and I'll say, great, I'll give you a call back later this afternoon. Would that work for you? If not, so it just is respectful, and it sets up the call in a good way so that you don't feel rushed. And then secondly, I closed for a phone call, and that's all I wanted out of this interaction, and that's 1,000 times easier for me than actually selling on the phone, right?
Well, the thing you got to do next, though, is you have to have already thought through and being prepared for the answering machine.
Yes, and the answering machine is going to be really similar. Hi, this is Paula from ABCI. I wanted to set up a time to sit down with you and find out what's new in your business and let you know about a few things that are new with us. Now, this is not a cold call. This is somebody that I've done business with before, so they know who Paula from ABCI is. And they also know what I do. So if they want to talk to me, that's fantastic, and they're going to return the call. If they don't want to talk to me, they're going to ignore this, which is fine too, right?
Yeah.
At least I know that. So yeah, and that's another thing is, having a thick skin and not taking anything personally, because, their experience with Paula at ABCI may not have been 100% fabulous, and I have to accept that as a possibility, right?
That's possible, although I
can't imagine why. But, that is a possibility, or they may not be in the market for marketing services, in which case I have wasted my $20 package, but oh well, that's the cost of doing business these days, right?
Yes, it is.
But at least I will know that, and I will not be spending much more time on them. The things that I am going to do, though, is send them an email saying, I just left you a voicemail. That's going to be the subject line, and those always get opened, because if you left them a voicemail, they think it's important. And the content is going to be, hi, Fred, I wanted to find some time to sit down with you and catch up on what's new with your business and let you know about some things that are going on at ABCI. Would Thursday at 4 work for you? So once again, exactly the same thing as the voicemail. But then they have two ways of responding. Some people never get their voicemail and they just let them pile up in their mailbox. Some people never answer their email, but at least this way I have a 50% better chance of getting them to respond to one or the other, right? Okay, so that's email 1, and that is sent on day 7 if I get their email as opposed to their live, smiling human being voice, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's all I did on day 7. And now I'm going to wait for 7 days and see what happens. So, some of these people are going to set an appointment with me, which is great. Some of these people are not, in which case we go to the next thing, and that is day 14, another email. Subject line, did you get my package? Content. Hi, Fred. Sometimes things go astray in the mail, so I wanted to check with you to see if you received a package from me. Now, this is going to get him to realize that he's being rude and that I spent money sending him a package with chocolates in it, and he didn't, even respond. So, usually this will at least get a response saying, Yes, Paula, thank you for the package. I really enjoyed the chocolates. We're not looking for marketing services right now. Have a nice day. Okay, well, that's great. I can check him off my list. At least I have uh, followed up with him and have given him the opportunity. But more often than not, it's going to end up resulting in an appointment, which is great. That's exactly what I want. So we carry on from there. If he doesn't respond to that one, then on day 21, this is the last thing, last day to get 1,000 free brochures, right? Or whatever your offer is. Hi, Fred. I'm just dropping you a quick note to let you know that the special offer we had will be ending today. If you're not able to take advantage of it, I'm sorry we missed you. So once again, low pressure, not a problem, not going to offend anybody. They'll just go, okay, well, that's the last I'm going to hear of that for a while, and then you wait a year and then you do another recapture campaign. So obviously the time is not right, or they're not in the market, or, whatever the situation is. But between all of this, between this 1 month or 21 days of marketing activity, you can have up to a 50% or even better response rate, at least getting appointments with these folks, which is much better than you'll get on any other kind of campaign, right?
Yep, because they all know you.
Yeah, because they all know me, and they already have an opinion. Either they want to do business with me again or not. So then they're just working out the details of, is it too expensive? Does it fit in with my timing? And, all other kinds of things. And it's just a matter of working that out. Okay. So once again, you have this all in your worksheet about how to get back the ones that got away. And that is the low-tech recapture campaign. You don't need any software to do this. Maybe Microsoft Word, but otherwise, just about anybody can do this with any standard office setup, right?
You bet.
Absolutely. So questions about the recapture campaign?
Well, somebody says, well, we can't get this done by Valentine's Day.
Oh, come on. How hard can this be? You've got a week you've got most of a week.
They got 6 days, so
right.
They'd have to push.
They would have to push, and I understand that. If you've got your list ready to go and you've got the letter already done for you, then it's just a matter of typing in the names and spitting it out of your printer and getting it out the door. But it doesn't have to be Valentine's Day. You could do this for St. Patrick's Day or Cinco de Mayo, or you don't even really have to have a holiday. You could have National Chocolate Chip Day and send them a chocolate chip cookie.
As a matter of fact, there is we don't have it right in front of me, but there's a list of all of the days. There's almost a day of some kind that's nationally noted every day of the year.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And nobody has ever gotten a present for National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day before. You can just about guarantee it. So it will do exactly what you need to do, and that is to stand out and get their attention and give you an opportunity to be generous and also be, very courteously request their business.
Okay. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be Valentine's Day. You can change that as you see fit.
So how many of these should we do? 20, 100?
Okay.
Some other number?
Right. I did 20 because of the nature of our business. We don't want to have too many things going on at a time. And also, that's how much time I think I can carve out in the next, 14 days from today or 7 days from today to be making those phone calls. So as it stands, if those go out in today's mail, I would be making those phone calls on the 15th of February. It doesn't have to be all on one day, but depending on how large your team is and depending on how much time you have 1 week from today to make those phone calls, that's kind of the bottleneck. The other bottleneck is budget. If you can't afford to send 20 or 200 packages, then send 20. So any is better than none. And you just want to do what you can do well. If you're not going to follow up on them, don't send too many if you're not going to have the time, right?
And if you have 100 and can only afford 20, then be very selective about the 20.
Yeah, and do a better job at your cherry picking.
Exactly.
Right.
Should we run this campaign more than once?
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with doing this every single Valentine's Day. People aren't going to be upset about receiving the same kind of a campaign twice. Ideally, you'll be sending it to different people because you'll have different lost customers. And ideally to a smaller list because you'll be losing less customers. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with running this more than once. I don't think I do it more than once a year, though. What do you
Right.
think, John?
I think once a year is way plenty.
Yeah. Yep, I think that's a nice way to plan it into your business processes also.
So, well, for this topic, that's all there is so far.
Okay, cool. So that is the low-tech recapture campaign, which is kind of a version of retargeting, except that you're talking about customers. But now we're going to talk about retargeting not customers, but prospects, people who are not customers yet, right?
But need to be.
But need to be. People that should be customers but aren't yet. And the way that this works, of course, people come to your website and there is a bit of technology that allows, it doesn't really matter how this works, what matters is that it works. When you visit a website, some of them will leave little paw prints on your browser or your phone or whatever it is that you're using, showing that you have been to their website. So then you go off and do something else, you get distracted, you didn't make a purchase, and you go off and go to, let's say, the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or some other web page, and you're going to see an ad from this website. So let's say they came to ABCI's website, they saw an ad for something, and then they go off to the Wall Street Journal and they see an ad for an ABCI product right there. How did that happen? It's because of the, sorry?
Quite well.
Quite well, exactly. So it doesn't really matter, again, how it happens. It's just a little bit of technology and a little piece of software that allows us to retarget that same person and say, you were looking at this before, here it is again. And if they were just distracted, but they actually are interested, they're a lot more likely to come back to our website and be more convinced that this is something that they want because we've had a second exposure. There are some benefits of retargeting, and this is going to get a little bit nerdy because this comes from a marketing textbook. One of the benefits is better brand recall, meaning they may have never heard of ABCI before, but they looked us up on the web for whatever reason. They were looking up, let's say, aviation brochures, and they found us on the web. And then they go off and do something else and then see an ad that says ABCI does aviation brochures. So then it's better brand recall. They may not have remembered our name after hearing it once, but they're more likely to after hearing it again. And the way that we can see that is that they may go to Google Analytics, or they may go to the Google search engine and type in ABCI, where before they were just typing in aviation brochures, right? You with me so far?
And then it shows up in your Google Analytics.
Exactly. So then you see direct traffic where somebody was, directly typing in your company name or directly typing in abci1.com in their browser. Even without going through a search engine, that would show up as direct traffic on the Google Analytics report. So, you'll see those numbers go up, and then you're doing a pretty good job of retargeting, right? Another one is more engagement, meaning the second time that they visit your site, they will probably spend more time visiting more of those pages, maybe checking out your prices, maybe going to your Contact Us page, maybe checking out your About Us page, doing more research because they're more serious the second time around, right? So you'll see that in more pages per visit and longer sessions in your Google Analytics. So if you see that going up, you're doing a good job with retargeting, right?
And then obviously the last point.
Yep. this is the one that is important. Increased conversion and more sales. And we've actually seen this in the last little bit since we started doing retargeting. We've had higher sales because people are becoming more convinced as they visit our site more than once. All right, so that's the benefits of retargeting. How do you do it? And this is the one, once again, that requires a little bit of technical ability. So what I'm going to do here is just tell you about the two biggest providers on the planet, and which we would choose and why. So if you are working with somebody that can do this for you, this does take some coding in order to set this up and to make this work the first time. The two companies are Perfect Audience and AdRoll. We've used both of them, and there are a couple of reasons that we've decided to move forward with Perfect Audience going forward, and of course we reevaluate this all the time. So, this is true today, it may not be true a month from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
These tech companies are moving around all the time, so you never know. But right now, Perfect Audience has an exclude and ignore function, so it will exclude and ignore my own traffic, so I'm not contaminating my data. It will also exclude or ignore current customers if I want to add them into the software so that it knows not to retarget people who are already customers. So I'm not wasting money that way. Another thing is that it does better segmentation, so I can do, if somebody has visited one of our products, I can target them with ads for that product as opposed to targeting them for ABCI in general. Does that make sense?
It's awfully detailed, but yes.
Okay. Am I being too nerdy? Is this English or is this... Okay. I'm speaking English, right? Okay. So better segmentation, that makes sense to human beings?
Yeah, well, that's a $64 word, but sure.
Okay. And then the last one is better service. We've had better experience with their customer service department. So
that's true.
Yeah, in fact, that's not the last thing. The last thing is Facebook retargeting. They have more options for that in Perfect Audience, and it's easier to manage all of that from one place. Say you're doing your web retargeting and your Facebook retargeting all together, right?
Yes.
Okay. So all of this was basically an option for the do-it-yourselfers in the group. If you are not a do-it-yourselfer, or if you'd rather not be a do-it-yourselfer, we do include retargeting with ABCI's digital marketing programs. And what that is, basically, is when we set up your digital marketing, we set up your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn accounts, your company's accounts, and or if you already have them set up, then we optimize them and we publish to them, and we also do some targeting where we actually look for people who are your ideal customer. So that's digital marketing, and then we also do the web retargeting in that same process. So we set up the cookies on your website, we track the traffic, we give you some pretty detailed reports once a month on what's going on and why, and how we think we can improve it or not, depending on what's going on. So digital marketing is one of our really popular programs, and it's actually a really good way to get a good bang for the buck if you are somebody that doesn't want to be messing with the bits and bytes of the internet. And a lot of our folks really like social media and they play on it all the time, but they don't necessarily want to get into the details of analyzing the statistics and other kinds of things, and they certainly don't want to get into coding and that kind of thing. So they can do that, or if they don't want to deal with social media at all, we do all the monitoring and managing things, and we set up an escalation plan with you so that we let you know if there's something that we think you need to deal with, but otherwise we handle it for you. Does that make sense?
Well, to me, but nobody's complaining, so I guess so.
Okay, good. All right, so that is that is option 3. Option 1, of course, is the recapture program. Option 2 is doing it yourself, and option 3 is having ABCI do retargeting for you. So you may want to do one or more of those kinds of things. But questions on anything?
You mean anything in the webinar?
Okay, anything in the webinar. I guess that's fair. Well, we'll take questions on anything, but we don't necessarily answer questions on anything.
So how much does the digital marketing cost?
Good question. Okay, we have two levels. We've got a budget level at $849 and an optimal level at $1,099 or $1,099. And the difference between those are that the budget level has usually 2 posts per week, and the optimal level is 3 posts per week. And we also choose different options in your retargeting. So, you know, the optimal level, we do more aggressive segmentation, better, more detailed reports and things like that. So $849 or $1,099, or if you want something very custom and specific, we'll price that for you, but those are the 2 packages that we have.
And you answered the other question that came in, which was, what else does it include? You just said that.
I was psychic.
That's scary.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so any other questions on recapture or retargeting?
None yet.
None yet? Okay. Well, we got about 4 minutes left, so if there aren't any other questions, we'll go ahead and sign off.
Yep, give these guys 4 minutes back out of their workday.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We were really happy that you were here. And once again, if you have any questions that occur to you after the fact, you can ask them on email, give us a call, chime in on any of our social media or anything else. And we're really glad that you joined us for this free webinar. And we have one of these a month, and then we also have our paid webinars for our insiders. So the next one will be next week, and we'll be talking about advanced recapture and advanced retargeting with some specific cases from our insiders. So that will be a lot more juicy, right?
Of course.
Of course. Great. Well, have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you next month.
See you guys. Ciao.
You could.